welcome to Spanish Springs Lanes in beautiful Lady Lake, Florida for the championship round of the Villages PBA Senior Tournament of Champions. A special presentation of the Pro Bowler Senior Tour here on Fox Sports Net. Glad to have you by for the next hour or so. I'm Phil Ferguson along with my broadcast partner. He's won 18 national tour titles, 3 senior championships. Included in that national tournament titles list, 2 Tournament of Champions wins. It means an awful lot for one of these 5 individuals to claim that honor tonight.
Well, it's the most exciting tournament we have. There's absolutely no question about it. We have the Masters, we have Senior, we have a lot of majors, but the Tournament of Champions is a very elitist field, Phil, and you're playing against the best out here right now. 66 titles, National Tour, Senior Tour among the 5 we have tonight. Let's meet our outstanding championship round finals field of 5. The guy to beat tonight, and he's been the man to beat all year long, Pete Couture. Yeah, he has. He's still the hottest player out here. He's already won the ABC Senior Masters. He's won several other titles. Pete just never lets up, and he led this tournament by 1 pin over Gene Stuss.
He's a leading money winner this year in that number 2 position. Lost out by a single pin, led for most of the way. Gene Stuss.
Gene Stuss, the big guy out here, buddy. He's won a lot of titles out here. We'll see if he can recover after that awful loss last night. I mean, it was really demoralizing to him, and we'll see if he can get it back up today.
In that number 3 position, I think we had to fine him because he spends more time bowling than he should be in the broadcast booth as my partner, Mike Durbin.
Yeah, think about this record now, buddy. He's got 3 Tournament of Champions on the National Tour. He's got those victories under his belt. He hasn't got a senior win yet, and maybe this is the one. 4th Tournament of Champions win.
Seated number 4, Gary Dickinson, again having a tremendous year.
Oh, Gary, the big splendid splinter, you know, he's a big guy, and he throws that ball so smooth. He's so consistent. You can see where he finished 2nd in last year's to George Pappas. George Pappas didn't make it, and Gary was wishing to get a little revenge on him.
And when you talk about the guy in the number 5 spot, all-time tour leader in terms of wins, 13. However, he's bowled very sparingly the past couple of years.
Well, John semi-retired from the tour, bought a center down in Nacogdoches, Texas. It's a little tough to say that one.
I'm glad you're saying it.
But he's back. He's been back now for the last 4 weeks, and each week he gets better and better and better. And look out for John Handegard today.
You had a nice tournament, finished 19th, and we are set for the action tonight. Can't wait.
It's exciting, boy. There's going to be some scores out here.
All right, let's go. There you have it, the first 4 bowlers. And again, if you've just tuned in with the Pro Bowlers Tour, a different format. 4 players will bowl the opening match, and the winner will move on to the championship game, and John Handegard will be up first. Once again, 4 players, and only 1 will survive.
That's right, and as many championships as these guys have, nobody can truly pick who the favorite could be out here.
Able to trip that 4-pin, so John Handegard, once again, we talked about it, owns the record for number of PBA senior titles with 13. However, his first championship round appearance this year. Then Gary Dickinson, he's made many, many, many championship round appearances.
Right. And 2 things I want the people at home to look for early in the match, the first few frames, is too little speed or way too much speed where the ball skids past the head pin. The guys that control the speed really early in the match are going to be the guys that are really tough, the ones to beat.
So Dickinson with a strike, Handegard with a strike, and Gene Stuss, well, he led by a bunch for most of the week.
Yeah, Pete Couture just kept climbing and climbing and climbing, and Gene Stuss shot a 300 on this particular pair of lanes during this tournament this week.
Able to get that ball to set on the back end. Should he get a 300 today in this first match, an extra $10,000, courtesy of the PBA, and that title match, $25,000. And you had mentioned before the show, Mike Durbin, your pick to win it?
Well, I think Mike's the guy. He's probably the best player out here, and by that I mean the best physical player, where Mike throws the shot and repeats it and repeats it and repeats it, and there's the one thing you have to be careful of opening. Yeah, just throwing it a little bit too slow.
So keep the speed up. Scores very high all week long here at beautiful Spanish Springs Lanes in Lady Lake, Florida. What a great tournament, a great week. I know the players enjoy coming here. Dickinson up in the second. Leaves a 10-pin.
Nice shot that's a little bit too soft early in the match. Gary didn't pay the price, but Mike did.
So Durbin opens 9 in the opening frame, and he trails early now by 11 as Dickinson comes up in the second frame.
Great stroke on this fellow, Phil. He's just got the most beautiful swing.
And again, if you're going to emulate a player
I mean, you know, they talk power players like a Gene Stuss, John Hrsina out here, but John Handegaard, what a beautiful game. Gary Dickinson, a beautiful game. And, of course, you mentioned Mike Durbin.
Well, we have 3 pure strokers, and then Gene Stuss, who's a real power player.
I think that John, it seemed like it hung up a little bit. Got it out, certainly. Looks up to the heavens just a bit.
Well, one of the things that we try to adjust with out here is loft or early roll. You can sometimes throw the ball 8 or 9 feet in the air just to make sure that it doesn't hook early.
Durbin. Just a little slow.
Yeah, I hate to say that Mike repeats it, but he repeats it and repeats it, and the only difference this time is he got 6 instead of 7, but it's the same lead, the 4, 6, 7, 10.
Here's a guy that throws it down, watches it come back, scatters him. Let's see. Not quite.
Well, you'll see by the 4th or 5th frame, these guys will start to get settled down a little bit, and the speed will come up or the speed will come down. The loft will be just about right. Got to get the butterflies out because they know the talent that they're up against.
So Mike Durbin is in a bit of a hole, and usually the oil moves down a little bit too.
Well, they've been practicing for an hour, so the carry down should have already happened.
So Stuss with a spare in the 2nd frame. Well, you can wear the official watch of the PBA Tour. This fashionable quartz analog watch designed for men and women and features a genuine leather strap. Each watch, $29.95 plus shipping and handling. Order yours today by calling 1-800-671-2722. I have one of those watches. Beautiful. And we are now moving into the 3rd frame. There you can see it. Mike Durbin, a big hole. The early leader, John Handegaard.
Well, the biggest hole he has right now is to John Handegaard. You know, you can start out with a couple opens, be working on 170, strike it out for 250. That's not the problem out here. It's that John Handegaard started with a double and may continue to strike. He's just that kind of player.
Handegaard looking for a 3-bagger to start this first game. A little high and able to kick the 4-pin.
2 in a row on the left lane. He tripped the 4. Back-to-back shots, and you saw once again he lofted that ball further.
So Gary Dickinson now up in the 3rd frame. Strike spare to start his match. Again, a little soft, and they're paying the price.
Well, sure, and that's probably, you know, even though those are bad breaks, what people think about, when you throw the ball into the nose, you're supposed to get a split. That's the way the game is designed to do. When you throw it in the nose and you keep getting 9, you don't worry about throwing it up there, but you should have to worry about the nose. It can cost you.
So Gene Stuss leaving just the 9-pin. So John Handegaard has the early lead, but a lot can happen in a very short time.
Well, they're being careful, and I'm not really sure why, but, I should say I know exactly why. You've got Gene Stuss, John Handegaard, Mike Durbin, and Gary Dickinson out there. All these super titles, and each one's afraid of the other. There's no question about it.
As Stuss picks up the spare. Interesting, John Handegaard with the top average among the 5, yet in that number 5 position because of all the match play games and the bonus pins to go along with it.
Right, we got 30 bonus pins for each game that you win. A little better speed on that one. Now, you can see you really got through that shot much better. Well, we get 30 bonus pins for each game that we win on top of all the pins that you shoot over 200. And the average is so high.
Once again, for the fans out there, those bonus pins are not included in your overall average.
No, they're not.
But you do get the bonus pins, and that helps. And yeah. Mike Durbin won 35 out of 48 matches. So John Handegaard leads early by 21 here in the Tournament of Champions. And now, as we head to break, let's take a look at some of the other finishers here in this tournament. Championship round finals of the Villages Senior PBA Tournament of Champions is brought to you by the Showboat Hotel, Casino, and Bowling Center. It's better at the boat. And there's the early scoreboard. John Handegaard starting off with 3 in a row.
Well, his closest competitor right now is Gary Dickinson. He's 34 behind. John's cruising right now.
Dickinson, all bowlers now up in the 4th frame. Got it out, able to set on the back end.
Gary Dickinson just made a very dramatic move. He went from near the 3rd arrow in the first few frames to almost the 1st arrow of that frame. He went out to right where John Handegaard's from.
And it's worked for Handegaard.
Yeah, the handyman throws it great. You see that nice loft, a little better speed.
Leaves the 2-pin. But maybe, again, the oil maybe moving down a little bit. The player's able to move right.
Yeah, it could be, but I really think that the more they're bowling, the better they're going to throw the ball. And I don't think it's because the oil moves. I think it's because they dry up some of that track area.
The holes or whatever.
And the fans been great here all week long. They're getting into it here in this opening match.
I'm never going to pick Mike Durbin again. I swear I'm hexing him, and I really feel bad about that.
Handegaard picks up the 2-pin spare, remains the leader. Durbin with the spare. Now it'll be Gene Stuss. And Stuss once again led by a lot and lost out by just a pin to the top-seeded Pete Couture. This is Gene's 4th championship round appearance this year.
You have to finish lower. You can't finish more than that.
How do you throw all those pins at that 7 and it doesn't go down?
It just shows you the power of his ball. His ball hooked so far that it hit the 5-pin almost too much. Shot it in front of the 7.
But whoever was in second.
So Handegaard now up in the 5th frame. Remains on top. Cool John. He's right there.
He looks like he's out for a Sunday stroll as easy as he's throwing that ball.
And he really hasn't bowled much this year. As Stuss able to pick up the 7-pin spare.
You see Gene's wife and his sponsor out there. They're here and terribly excited for him. They really, really are up for him. But Sally, you know, she's nervous.
We're in the opening match here in the Villages Senior Tournament of Champions. Nice to have you by at Spanish Springs Lanes in beautiful Lady Lake, Florida. Gary Dickinson.
Now you saw Gary jumped in front of that shot, but the 4-pin went straight back. Barely got nicked, and there's the crowd that's pretty excited for Gary. That cut Handegaard's lead by 20, down to 23 on that one.
Gene Stuss, a little bit high. And really, covering all these tournaments, you know that in 4 or 5 frames, you can pick up a lot. So.
Oh, sure. Now, Mike Durbin started early with 2 opens, but he can still shoot 230. There's no question. He can still get 235. And that's a score for the other guys to shoot at.
So,
there's Debbie in her beautiful hat.
Kind of matches her eyes.
Yeah, it does. I guess she wore that hat, and they just moved to Boulder City, Nevada. So they moved out west.
She may be stomping on that hat.
Western hat on.
You know. So the spare. Durbin up now. So Mike Durbin able to convert the spare. He has completed half his game. Well, you too can wear the look of the pros with officially licensed PBA Tour merchandise and apparel for all the latest shirts, sweatshirts, caps, and other items featuring the PBA Tour logo. Call 1-800-PBA Tour. Some beautiful looking shirts. I don't have one of those.
Well, I think that probably somebody ought to give you one.
Well, I think you're right. All right, there's the score. John Handegaard still on top, still a half game to go. And Gary Dickinson now with a double can cut into that lead by another 10 pins.
He sure can, and right now he's the only one working on a strike other than Handegaard, so it's him to make the challenge right now.
Boy, smooth coming out of that one. Wants to come back and it.
Solid 10, and that was really, he knew he threw that one well. You could see him rip his arm through that shot. That's a bad break. Now, if Handegaard strikes here, it could cost Gary Dickinson another 20 pins down.
4 pins, so still we have a match. Handegaard once again with 13 senior titles. Dickinson with 10 senior championships. Gary, Mr. Nice Guy, the Steve Nagy Sportsmanship Award 3 times on the National Tours. He picks up the 10 pin.
Well, Handegaard through the 5th is shooting at a 219 clip. Stuss is shooting at a 196. Dickinson 195. And unfortunately, Mike is shooting at a 174 clip. A lot of frames left, buddy.
Handegaard 3 times voted the Senior Player of the Year, 91, 95, and again in 96. But Durbin's got to get rolling. Better roll him. Oh, I'll tell you what. He's just had some problems. Looked like he came out of it all right, but again, the speed factor. You talked about that at the beginning of the show, Dave.
Yeah, well, he's just not hitting the pocket. He's not making the shots that he can make. And by that, physically he's making the shots. I don't think he's got the speed right. How about that for a scout, buddy?
That was a Boy Scout.
See, Dave Bernhardt, Gene's sponsor, give him a high five there.
Durbin having all kinds of problems, but boy, 5th championship round this year, still looking for his first senior championship, and I think he's going to have to win another tournament.
Yeah, he's probably going to have to wait another tournament, but he's had a great year already, and I promise you one thing, we're going to see him again before the year's over. Now look how far left of the previous shot. That ball there was 4 or 5 boards left of his previous shot in that lane, which struck, and there's the result, the 4-6-7.
So John Handegard, I think, smelling it. 7th frame. He's had a very consistent shot. He's been in the pocket, tripping a couple of 4 pins early on.
Look at how straight his arm swing is, and you look how accurate he is. I mean, he's just a wonderful, wonderful. Well, when you've won more titles than any other senior, you obviously can play the game.
He didn't bowl much on the national tour. In fact, not at all. Came out as a senior, has won 13 titles. Gene Stuss, well, able to get something going here.
Cut the lead a little bit there.
High five.
Now it's down to about 14 pins or 13 pins.
And when you're bowling with 4 guys, boy, you just can't lose track. I mean, there's just too many guys. So you gotta, somebody's going to creep up on you here.
There's the move. Maybe should have made it a little earlier. He hit the pocket that time, left the 4-pin, but he moved way outside. You can see the top of the arc on about 2 or 3 before it snapped back to the pocket. Great body position, great swing, repeats the shot over and over and over. And when you know you're going to play him, it's a little scary because all he has to do is get lined up early and you're dead.
Got it out, able to get it back. So Mike Durbin with the spare, and John Handegard still on top by 13 over Gene Stuss here at Spanish Springs Lanes in Lady Lake, Florida. And we leave you now with some other finishers here in the Villages Tournament of Champions.
Aren't those horses gorgeous?
Here at the Villages, Lady Lake. Gary Dickinson up in the 8th frame. He can go off the sheet for 211. Trails by a few, 38.
Especially when John Handegard's working at a 219 clip. Gary knows he's in trouble. He's got to have them all. Coming out of commercial now. We have that commercial break in there. And one thing, the closest competitor to John Handegard, who's up now, is Gene Stuss. And Gene tends to get just a little bit careful and slow coming out of the commercial. So we'll see if he can keep the speed up.
All right. John Handegard, the leader, wanted that one, but popped it up and left a 7.
Yeah, and I think John was well aware of that. He's played on the television shows so many times that he knows coming out of that commercial break, you've got to get the ball speed up really quickly. Because you sit there for a few minutes and the adrenaline flows away in that little short period of time.
Well, when Stuss comes up, he can trim that lead to just 3 in the 8th with a strike, and we'll have to keep tabs on how he does coming out of the break. Handegard.
And Gene just found it. You know, he just got the double, he just got it going, and all of a sudden we had to sit down and get the commercial break. This is a huge shot for Gene Stuss and John Handegard.
Oh, there you go.
Mikey got one.
All right.
Mikey got one.
Boy, they appreciate that. And Mike Durbin smiling, and all right.
Well, what can you do? When you're struggling and having a bad day, some days you just have a bad day.
All right. Crucial shot for Gene Stuss here in the 8th.
Well, for both players, Gene and John Handegard. And the perfect speed. Now it's a match. Now it's a race to the end with John Handegard shooting 159 and a spare in the 8th. And Gene Stuss working on a turkey. Now look how he just lofts this ball. Really rips through it. Now that's what I was talking about. Keeping the speed, letting the ball get to the break point exactly when it should.
10 pins.
See how good John is here. Uh-oh, he hung up in it. He hung up in it. No way! Look at that! He can't believe it. Nobody can believe it. That ball went almost to the arrows in the air. Talk about non-clearance of the thumb, buddy. There it is. Wait till we see this shot. Now watch this one. It never comes off. Boom! Look at that. Almost to the arrows. Bounces. Unbelievable. Maybe we can enter him in the Olympics. So you think the shot put team needs a little help there?
Handegard, and I happen to catch Gene Stuss look in the background, dejected.
Yes. I mean, he can't believe it. When anybody hangs in a ball like that, what are the odds that it's going to strike? Just incredible. But Gene Stuss takes the lead from Handegard right here.
I think I missed this one.
Now, you see the thumb come up and that hand come kind of inside. It kills the roll. It flattens the axis of the ball, and the roll isn't quite as strong as it was. And that's what we call a little bit of a flying elbow. Now Gene's got a problem.
Mike Durbin
Going for a double. Oh.
10-pin. Durbin, the only player to win the Tournament of Champions on the National Tour 3 times. Dave, you won it twice. Nice try.
Yes. Well, yeah, it wasn't even close. Right, Gene made the 10-pin, keeps the match close. Now here's what's going to happen in the 10th. Dickinson can go out for 201. Handegard can go out for 239. The best Stuss can get now with that spare in the 9th is 225. So everything is up to John Handegard, actually, because if John Handegard strikes on the first ball and gets 7, it's over.
And it's just between Handegard and Stuss now. The player with the top score will move on to face Pete Couture, and boy, the crowd.
Now let's see. The last time he hung up in the ball, he came right back and threw a really good shot. When you hang in the ball, how do you know when it's going to come off? He may release it early, which he did. Oh, and he got away with it. A ball wanted to run high. He can't believe it. Look, he can't believe that one either.
John a bit stunned, but he has thrown, for the most part, he has thrown the best shots out of the group. Consistent.
Yes, for the most part. I think he and Gene probably played the best 2 games, and that's why they're going at each other right now.
Got lucky. Took advantage of it.
So now with Handegard, 7 count.
You hear him say take advantage of it? He hung in one, he dropped one. You know, if he gets a 6 count like the big 4, the 4, 6, 7, 10, he can still lose this match. And we've seen some strange things happening.
Handegard finished 5th in last year's Senior Tournament of Champions.
Game, set, and match. It's going to be Pete Couture against John Handegard.
Let me ask you, with Handegard, maybe not bowling as much this year once you do make a telecast. I mean, for a couple of years, he was automatic on the show. But, I mean, does that have an effect?
Well, sure it does. I mean, he's been away for over a year. He's been not practicing for over a year. You know, you lose a little, but he didn't lose very much. Let me tell you, he didn't lose very much.
So John Handegard, the winner of this opening match, with 228. He now moves on to the title match against Pete Couture. Now let's take a look at some of the other finishers here in the Villages Senior Tournament of Champions. And you're looking at some of the beautiful scenery here at the Villages in Lady Lake, Florida. What a great week.
The Showboat Hotel, Casino, and Bowling Center in Las Vegas is the umbrella sponsor of the PBA Senior Tour. The Showboat has more than 450 rooms, houses America's largest bowling center, 4 restaurants, a casino, a bingo parlor, and live entertainment daily. For more information, call the Showboat at 1-800-634-3484.
And prior to this big tournament, a dinner for the champions held in the Carmen Miranda Room of the La Hacienda Center here in Lady Lake, Florida. Really a festive evening with the players in attendance, players' wives, the commissioner, Mark Gerberich, along with the PBA staff, also community leaders. There's Don Johnson, Kokomo Kid, along with Glenn Allison, Mr. 900, 2 champions in attendance at the dinner, and Dave Bushman, Director of Bowling Operations for the Villages, received an award, Bowler's Journal Proprietor of the Year Award. There he is. Congratulations to Dave Bushman and his staff. They did a tremendous job this week, and what a week it was. Last night at nearby Fiesta Bowl, the sister station of Spanish Springs, another senior PBA tournament, the Villages Open, and the winner, lefty Phil Barnes. He needed a double in the 10th frame to beat Roger Tramp. Oh, he got one there. And Phil Barnes went on to win 225 to 213. And so Phil will be eligible now for next year's Tournament of Champions. Congratulations to the lefty, Phil Barnes. And Pete Couture, he is our leader. And there he is getting ready for the final match, the tournament match here at Spanish Springs in Lady Lake, Florida. There you have it, the scoreboard. John Handegaard moves on with that 228.
Yeah, and you know, one of the biggest shots in John Handegaard's game was the 10-pin that Gene Stuss left in the 9th frame. Now, if Gene had struck out in the 9th and the 10th, first ball in the 10th, John could not win it.
We have the championship match coming up. John Handegaard with 7 strikes in that opening match, going up against Pete Couture, top seed Pete Couture. Welcome back to the Senior Tournament of Champions. Phil Barnes, he won the Villages Senior Open.
Well, this is lovely wife, Kelly, with him. You know, Phil was on the mayor in New York City, a mayor's security staff. He's a pretty hot shot there, buddy.
Wow, did not know that.
Yeah.
John Handegaard will start the match. Handegaard going up against Couture. Handegaard looking for his 14th senior title. Walked it out. Delay the hook, and just like that.
He makes it look so easy. Well, both of these guys, you know, Pete and John. And what I want you to really look at is when we get the close-up of the faces, see if you ever see them blink. It's almost like these two guys never blink. They're so focused.
And Couture with 5 senior titles. A few of those this year. To go, the 7-pin, and boy, Pete Couture, no matter what he does, I mean, he's going to go over the $100,000 mark this year. And
yeah, he's having a great year.
Just 2 players have done that now, Gary Dickinson and Pete Couture here in 98. And Dave, I wanted to mention that here in 98, now the top seeded player 3 and 7, now the 5th seeded player 4 and 1.
Yes, and
so Handegaard's number 5.
Yeah, and last year it was quite the opposite. The top seeded player won the most.
So interesting. We'll see what happens. But Pete Couture has been red hot all year long. 228 average match play record, 34 wins, 14 losses. Second frame. Got to come and throwing that marble ball out there.
There he is. And he's got the speed right. I mean, I just can't say that enough. You know, I mean, that's one of the most critical things that we do in our game is speed and loft.
Well, Handegaard has Couture's number this week, 3 and 1.
Does.
We'll see what that number is, though, in this title match as Handegaard comes up in the second. All strikes so far.
Nancy Ward, John's fiance. She's down there working real hard with him in the new center in Texas. You see Johnny Petraglia sitting right there? He's last week's winner of the senior championship in Jackson, Michigan last week.
He had another nice week this week.
He sure did. He finished ahead of me, and I hate it when my teammate finishes ahead of me.
So Handegaard now with a 310, trying to convert. Not an easy spare.
Early roll, straight, a little ricochet in the middle of there, and there you have it. Just like that. Textbook.
Methodical. Both these players, but John Handegaard especially, he goes and every shot he'll scrape the bottom of his shoe. And for those amateurs out there, is that just to get that consistent slide and make sure you don't stick out there?
It's like the pre-shot routine you have sometimes in golf. You have it in foul shooting, you know, when the guys are playing in the NBA, and you have it here. They go through a pre-shot routine trying to make everything the same every shot. No deviation. Better speed on this one.
A naughty 10-pin on that one. Boy, that one just stood up and laughed at him.
Yeah, it was a clean shot. He was surprised. I think everybody here was surprised at that. That was a really clean shot. Had great roll on it.
We talked about it earlier. Handegaard averaging 230. The top average, 230.5. The top average among the 5 on tonight's telecast. Handegaard looking to pick up that single 10-pin spare. Just like that.
Well, he switches to a plastic ball. John uses a plastic ball to shoot his spare so that the ball doesn't hook, so they can go, you know, direct to it. And he's sitting there talking with Johnny Petraglia.
Couture up in the 3rd frame. He's got a double. Once again, $25,000 extra should he toss a 300.
Pete's mom's in the audience today, and I spoke with her earlier, and she is so proud of this guy. Every right to be, too. They're getting away with one, buddy. That was way inside the line, a little slow, and just kind of sucked the middle out of the pins and down with the 4-7.
Just a phenomenal year. He's making his 8th championship round TV appearance of 98 as we take another look at.
Watch how high. Watch how high the ball goes on the head pin. It really goes very high. And look at that 2-pin. Push to the side, squeezes between the 4-7.
Just had enough speed on it, so Pete Couture up early in this match.
Yeah, 21. Early breaks for Couture. Should it be the deciding thing at the end?
Yeah, he's got it cooking. He's got all the shots working right now.
The wall shot, the solid shot, the trip 4-7. But don't count this guy out. I've seen him too many times.
Out here, you know, not to celebrate too early.
Never.
John Handegard, once again, 13 senior titles, not bowled a lot this year or last year, and told me he won't bowl a lot next year.
Let me tell you what Pete's thinking real quickly here. He's hoping that John strikes here and doesn't strike in the 5th. He doesn't mind if he strikes here. That's okay. What he doesn't want is to strike in the 5th. Because if he strikes in the 5th, by the 6th and 7th, he's got 4 in a row. All right. Now, if he spares in the 5th, he can only get a double in the 6th and 7th, and that's big.
John's smooth, isn't he?
Perfect. I mean, you talk about 10 pins in the pit. This is it. Everything does its job, and they all go in the back end.
They evaporated. And these pins are heavier than the normal pins.
So this is a shot that Pete Couture is hoping that John does not strike on. Because he'll cut the lead to 21 and be working, and then Pete would have to continue to strike. This way he can afford an error.
Got it out. I'll get that 5-pin going. So John Handegard with a big double and has cut into that lead now at 21. Couture the first 4 to start this title match.
What do you think this is? what do you think John Handegard's thinking right this second?
He's probably thinking it's going to be a wall shot. Is it going to be? Is he going to stuff it? There's the commissioner of the PBA, Mark Gerbrick, doing such an outstanding job.
You know, John got his wish. He didn't strike.
And the commissioner can put that $25,000 check back in his pocket. Not a $300 tonight.
Well, saves us. Maybe we can make us some interest at the association on that.
So Pete Couture, now this match has gotten very interesting.
Well, sure it is, because Pete cannot defend his position right now. He can go spare in the 5th, strike in the 6th, be working at 229. Handegard goes up and goes pop, pop, and he's working at 229 also.
Back to an even-numbered 20-pin lead now for Pete Couture. And Couture kind of talking to himself, trying to get ready here, but there it is. Handegard right back in the match with that double.
Well, and what we showed earlier, Handegard's beaten Pete Couture 3 out of 4 games this week.
Couture placed 4th in last year's senior GFC. High game this week, 289, had a couple of those. Got it out again.
Just dropped it, just lost it. Just came off a little quicker than he wanted it to.
Certainly, you know, when you talk about this spare, the 2-8, I mean, is it more difficult this week than other weeks, so you have a little room to work with? Okay.
It sure is. It's been more difficult. If Pete sends this ball to the right too far, it will not get back. If he goes a little bit too straight with it and want to hook early, we go past it on the left. Critical shot in the match for both players.
Just like that. So Pete Couture still has a slim lead here in the Tournament of Champions. And we'll be back with more of this match. There you have it, some other finishers in the TSC. Sixth frame can cut that lead now down to 8.
Well, he's working on a double, and if he goes bang, bang here, he's ahead. Good loft, good speed coming out of that commercial. It leans on it, yes, and he gets the 7 out of there, Phil.
All right. Maybe that 1 pin was lighter than the rest. No.
Well, these pins that we have here that Brunswick supplies us are 310s. They're heavier than what we normally play on.
Not 310s in the rack.
3 pounds, 10 ounces pound. Look at this 5-pin, how it just barely gets there. Just barely gets there.
Nudge it.
Ugh.
Big strike for John Handegard. And he's tossed a few big strikes here in the couple of matches. He trails by 8, but again, if he strikes here, he's on top as he career earnings over $500,000. Can't throw it nice.
Look at this break. Oh, my goodness. That's a scout, a semi-scout, whatever you want to call it. But how about the 7-pin falling off the back and that scout coming around the other way? Unbelievable. Look at this ball. It's almost in. There it goes. It's weak. See it deflect way to the right. Where's this pin coming from, buddy?
Yeah, that's a 1. 1 down on 1 knee. He says, hey, yeah. All right, take that. Now, Pete Couture.
I got down on 1 knee. I'd have a hard time getting back up.
Trying to come back. Trying to win his 4th title of '98. That would be a new senior record for titles in a year. gets that one. Several players have won 3 in a year, including Earl Anthony, John Handegard, Gary Dickinson, Larry Lobb. Tommy Evans had a nice tournament this week, but Pete Couture now, right? This is turning out to be a great match, and it should be for the TFC title.
Well, think about the things that have happened. John Handegard left the baby split, the 310 early, made it, okay? Now he's got 4 in a row, 2 of them kind of, shall we say, marginal strikes. Pete Couture threw a shot on the left lane, on this lane last frame, that was a little bit early off his hand, skidded past the head pin almost, left with 2-8, and that's the difference in the match.
Couture, big strike. There's Bob Mervine, PR director for the Village, and what a tremendous job he has done this week, and boy, he's just having a good time.
One of the neatest things here is that there's so many people drive their golf carts home.
I know.
They're everywhere. The golf carts are everywhere.
I saw the police cart chase one of them. Tracked him down, pulled him over. So John Handegard, this game's going back and forth, 8th frame, can regain the lead. Oh, you were sitting back a little bit on that one, Dave.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to do that. I kind of had an intake of breath, and I hope nobody heard that, but what that was, John lost that shot. Now, see, John's release is kind of lofty early. He's not clearing that thumb hole. And you think about how difficult bowling is when you've got your fingers in a certain way and you're trying to clear that thumb. It's very difficult to clear it every time.
So Handegard with just that narrow 2-pin advantage as we head into the foundation frame, the 9th frame. Handegard up 2 over Pete Couture.
See any blinking there? None. These guys are focused, buddy. Lost. Stayed on line, lofted it, and kept the break down to just exactly the way he likes it. That's about as good as you can throw it.
Well, again, I talked about Handegard, 13 titles. He hasn't been there in a while. However, when you win 13 titles, you know how to win. And he's putting it out on the table right now.
Well, here's the deal. Going into the 9th, Pete trails by 12. If Pete strikes out, he shoots 267. Forcing John Handegard to strike out for 269. And as we said at the opening, the longer that we go today, the better the scores will get.
Looked like Couture cut it a bit short, but got enough. So another beautiful shot.
Yep. Now we'll see what the sweaty thumbs and the sweaty palms and the sweaty fingers are going to do. These guys are down to 2 pins.
Let me ask you, do you like to throw the shots first and sit back, or do you like to be the one just sitting there and then see what Pete does?
It makes the difference for me. I just like to be there.
You just like to be there.
Yeah, either first or second. I don't care.
Now, let's see. John Handegard not looking. Looks at the scoreboard. Pete's mom is in there somewhere.
Yes, she is. With early roll. Is it going to get back? Is it going to get back? Oh, no, there's a difference, too. Look at that. John got it when it leaned over, and Pete did it.
All right. So now with a 9-pin spare and strike, that would give him 246.
Still forces Handegard to go
Big count.
9, spare 9 for 247. You know, sometimes when you need a mark, it's easier sometimes to need a strike to win than it is to get a mark. Great roll in that ball. Boy, he has just got such wonderful roll in the ball. Well, John lost that shot now. See, John's... easiest mark, and I believe me when I tell you, the easiest mark that anybody out here tries to get is dead flush for a strike. No messing around, shooting spares. Get the strike and win the tournament.
Win it right here with a strike.
There it is. There's your champions.
John Handegard throwing some clutch strikes. His wife.
Not yet. She will be soon, but not yet.
Oh, I got ahead of myself.
Yes.
I just soon. Soon to be. All right. He wins the Senior Tournament of Champions for Handegard, senior win number 14.
Yes, it is. He just keeps setting those records.
Unbelievable. unbelievable. Boy, he has thrown some clutch strikes. And we will be back to talk to the champion of the Villages PBA Senior Tournament of Champions. Coming back in a minute. Championship round finals of the Villages Senior PBA Tournament of Champions is brought to you by the Showboat Hotel, Casino, and Bowling Center. It's better at the boat.
Here at Spanish Springs Lanes in Lady Lake, Florida, the winner of the Villages Senior Tournament of Champions, John Handegard.